Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Boruto Anime episode review. This one's going to be for episode 28, which is called Declaration of War. And for me, this episode was definitely the point at which this arc went from feeling like, okay, small field trip arc, they're going to add a little bit of, tension into it with this kind of like tease of some, political kind of stirrings within the Mist, the Mist Village, but I think this was the episode where it really shifted and went from feeling quite small to actually like they could do some pretty big stuff in the next couple of episodes without kind of going overboard. In that, obviously what we get here is the kind of formation of this new group of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist. all seven swords are back in play now with Shizuma's group, and Yagura has seemingly kind of sided with them, but obviously they're going to play on that in the upcoming episodes with obviously how he feels about his past, what he owes Shizuma, and I suppose what he owes Boruto now, and where he actually wants to go and who he actually believes in. Because there was that moment, of course, where Shizuma basically pretty much convinced Yagura by saying that Chojuro kind of orders these assassinations of insurgents within the village, which, I get his point from the perspective of like him being someone who wants the Mist to return to its old ways, where killing was this just thing that the village was known for being this very, very brutal village, and how he sees this kind of weird, in his mind I suppose, facade that the village is putting up of like, oh yeah, we're really peaceful now, we've got this really advanced village and we don't do any of this other stuff, and then he just hears that, oh yeah, and by the way, the current Mizukage orders assassinations of anyone who, tries to do anything wrong. But at the same time, it's a ninja village, so to some degree there is this level of kind of brutality to it because it is ninja stuff. Isn't that what Shoujo as the leader is kind of meant to do? But I also feel it could be a lie coming from Shizuma. I do feel that they could go either way with it, of just this is part of his kind of ideology that he tries to paint, Chojuro as the villain, when actually Chojuro's just doing the thing to keep the peace, which is kind of justified, whereas what they're doing is obviously just trying to start a war and hopefully return things to the way they were. It speaks obviously to the fact that they're very young. The reveal that Shizuma's only 18 and all of the other kind of new swordsmen are also in around that age, I think more or less tells you that yes, they are going to be somewhat of a threat, but that they don't have the best view, I think, of everything that's happening now, because if they really cause a stir enough to involve the other villages, they're going to be put down quite quickly, because they're really, I think, underestimating the power of a lot of the higher-ups in the village. Obviously, Chojuro and Mei, but then, like, just little points of, like, Kakashi basically on his own, with kind of very little assistance, was able to take out, like, most of the, 7 ninja swordsmen himself. So, we have Naruto, Sasuke. If things really came down to it, they'd be taken out quite quickly. So you can see the kind of issues with their ideology right now, but that they believe in it so much that they want things to return to the way they were. Adding in that extra little moment of like, okay, it's Shizuma Hoshigake, so it's someone related to Kisame, and that name Hoshigake has kind of been removed basically from the history of the Mist Village. I thought was very telling, and him kind of noting that, it's the same for you and your lineage. It's also kind of seemingly being removed. I do feel, though, that that's kind of countered by the fact that Chojuro actually wants, Yagura to be the next kind of generation to kind of become the next Mizukage. That's obviously a point I don't think Shizuma, if he had to address it, couldn't really defend. But it was definitely fascinating when it really came down to it. You see that how skilled he is, that given that, apart from a few specific moments, we we haven't really seen a ton of action from really, really, really powerful shinobi. He actually stands out as being quite skilled using stuff like the water prison jutsu, the attack that he kind of took out Boruto with, And we've seen Boruto and have been quite impressed with him. So Shizuma kind of almost effortlessly beating Boruto speaks to, you know, that okay, this is going to be a big challenge for Boruto, even though we've seen shinobi in the series who are much more powerful than Shizuma. But you know, it overall was, I think, a very good episode. I think, as I said, it marked, I think, this shift from feeling like it was an arc that could have ended at any point in time, that like you almost could have done this episode in a more simple way, where Shizuma comes in to try and convince him, you have the backstory reveal between the two of them, and Yagura just completely sides with Boruto. They fight off Shizuma, and that's kind of the end of the arc. He's proved himself, and you've accomplished what you need to do. But I do appreciate them trying to make it a bit bigger, of like, no, Shizuma has this kind of psychological kind of control over Yagura because of the fact that the person that he injured was Shizuma, who was the kind of trainer at the time. And basically Shizuma, because he was the one who was hurt, has kind of protected Yagura for all this time, and so on, from everything that's been going on. And he kind of has this control over him because of that, and it kind of relates to his kind of fear of using the swords and who he becomes, and his fear of his kind of lineage and so on. So interesting that he convinced him to the point where the 7th ninja swordsman is Yagura, but of course he's going to be dealing with a lot of stuff. He gets the Himakakari, the double sword that is Chojiro's, and the others get the other sword. So it is this really dangerous situation. And then the other, I think, interesting angle on all of this was that you had Suigetsu reveal at the start, and then I suppose properly, you know, reveal for sure it's him towards the end, and then Mitsuki is also in or around. So because of obviously Mitsuki's connection to Orochimaru, and then of course Suigetsu's connection to Orochimaru, it's this interesting angle of like, okay, so is there any sort of connection between Mitsuki and Suigetsu? And then Suigetsu, of course, his quest, from what we know of him, was that he always wanted to collect all 7 swords. So he's sort of monitoring, I suppose, where each of the swords are, what's going on, in that this is his village, of course, in a way. So, you know, he's there and thereabouts, but then Mitsuki is also on the scene, and you can tell this entire arc that he's kind of been there, and you know that he's much more skilled than he lets on. So I think whenever Mitsuki decides to act, it's going to be a pretty big moment, depending on what he does. But I think Suigetsu for sure is going to be the most interesting one, of like, what's he going to do? Is he going to try and swoop in and steal the swords? Or is he committed to like the good side, and is he going to stop this if it ever comes to anything, and maybe take the Executioner's blade or something like that? So that's going to be an interesting one to see. There's also, I think, the other angle on this is that Suigetsu kind of has a bit of a, you know, debt to repay, I suppose, because of the mistakes he made in the previous arc with the whole Sarada DNA test. So we might probably see him, maybe towards the end of the arc, complete that delivery, like he gives the new glasses to Sarada and maybe steps in to help them, and that's his kind of like, I helped you guys, sorry for what happened before, and I'll leave everything. I haven't really seen too many people mention the connection between Gaiden and this, but it could be a factor in that he was told by Karin to go give her new glasses, and she immediately after that has kind of gone on this trip, so maybe he's hunted her down, not really sure. But yeah, I think that's more or less everything I want to say about the episode. We did get to see Boruto use that new attack, Boruto's Stream, which is this kind of combination of like a bunch of different kind of natures to make this really fast, kind of almost kind of lightning blade assisted by kind of air speed kind of type thing. It was an interesting attack. Given that it kind of failed immediately, there was this implication of like he didn't quite do it perfectly, and so it was countered, but that when he uses that effectively, it's going to be this amazing attack for him. But you know, interesting that they just kind of had that reveal as Boruto was kind of taken out. You have Sarada heal him, you have the other guy that was kind of previously the kind of mini ringleader come in and reveal that he's no longer part of the group and kind of wants to help. So it's going to be this interesting kind of team up of, I suppose, most of the the Leaf Village, you know, characters working with a few people from the Mist. The preview seems to hint that they get Mei and Chojuro involved. So it's going to be like probably those as the main two adults involved in everything, and then mostly the kids getting involved in things. I'm thinking what they might do with Chojuro is perhaps demonstrate that the mistake that perhaps the enemy group here are making is that they think that because they have all of the ninja swords, that instantly makes them like the most powerful group in the world. Whereas I think in the preview you see Chojuro with just a sword, what looks like a just normal sword. So perhaps he's going to show them that, you know, the power of your sword doesn't necessarily matter, it's the skill, and he's more skilled than them and can tackle these powerful swords by just using a normal sword himself. Not really sure how many episodes are left. They could extend this and make it a relatively long arc, or it could be a kind of like 1, 2, 3 episodes left type thing. I'm not really sure, I haven't really checked on the schedule, but I'm definitely excited to see what comes. But yeah, it's been my review for the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were, as well as what your thoughts on what I had to say about the episode. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.